Welcome back, them brothers from Inglewood podcast with Charlie Mack and Hoopy. We got an exciting topic to talk about today. I believe that it's going to bring nostalgic memories, and we'll be able to relate to the topic that we'll be discussing. And before I go into the topic, I just want to let Charlie Mack say something to the folks, and then we'll go from there.
Hey guys, we back. What we're going to be talking about today, I think it will be pretty interesting. So if you guys want to follow along with what we're talking about, I'm sure you guys have lost somebody when you were a young adolescent, in your teens or even younger. And just to think about how that person would be today if they had lived. So that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you thought of that concept to discuss because, no one can truly predict the future.
Right.
But it's interesting to know that people have crossed your path, and it's sad to see their demise in our youth, and seemingly to be deprived of growing into adulthood and so on and so on. So we're going to delve right in and just ask the mere question, and I'm sure you that are listening can relate to it. Can you think of somebody in your youth that transitioned, who impacted your life?
It's funny, man, because I think about our cousin Jeannie all the time.
Yeah.
And Jeannie was 11 years old when she passed away. She was hit by a car.
Yeah.
And, she was raised by a pretty old-fashioned mother who was a country girl and just never really understood. She brought her countryness to, the West Coast.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think about Jeannie all the time because Aunt Big was so strict with her.
Yeah.
And she was like that with us as well.
Yeah.
She was strict, and she had old-fashioned values and old-fashioned ways. There's nothing wrong with old-fashioned values, but you have to kind of curve those values sometimes.
Yeah.
That relates to what's happening today.
Yeah.
And so, I think about Jeannie all the time, and I just wonder how she would be as a woman. She was 11 years old. Right now, she would be, 56, 55 years old.
Yeah.
What kind of woman do you think she would have been?
And it's crazy because when you mentioned it, because it's a great topic. It's something great to discuss. And I never really talked about it because who were we going to talk about that to other than each other?
Right.
But I believe she would have regressed in a way to where when you're sheltered the way she was, and when you're sort of developed into being older than what you are, think about it. She was braiding hair, she was cooking food, she was, doing things around the house.
Yeah.
She was, remembering, when the bills came in and who she was actually functioning like a little adult. Yeah.
Right.
So I think if, like you said, those values and the way that Aunt Big structured life for her, I believe she would have rebelled at some point, even though she grew up as a Christian girl.
I was thinking the same thing.
And sometimes we went to school with people who were raised in the church, and when they got to a certain age, it was like, I'm cool on this religion thing. Yeah. And I think that she would have regressed.
I think the same thing. Yeah.
Maybe she would have come back eventually, but I think she would have hoined her, just kind of like ventured out.
I think she probably would have ended up pretty grounded because she had us.
True.
And we would have been like her little brothers, but also like her big brothers. So she would have ended up kind of doing some of the same things that we did as kids, and we talked or whatever. So I think she would have regressed.
We got out of the barn though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're boys, we're men now, but think about it. We got away from that structure.
Right.
Even myself, yeah, I kept going to church a little longer than you and Pony.
Right.
But eventually, man, when I went away to Utah, I was a wrap.
Yeah.
And even in high school, I was still getting into trouble here and there. I was having fist fights or whatever. But I think because of that foundation that was laid, I knew I had something to come back to.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, I think we would have helped balance her life.
Right.
Even if she would have got away, we could have just reeled her back in. And then we probably could have been able to say, well, I ain't big.
Yeah. Times is different.
Yeah. You need
back up a little bit.
Exactly.
Let her be a young adult, whatever. Exactly. Yeah. It's so funny, man. This is 40 something years ago, man, and I still think about Jeannie. And I'm sure as people are listening, they've lost loved ones that young too, and they probably never forgot them either.
Well, yeah, because you remember the meaningful people in your life and meaningful moments. And it's I was Kevin passed away.
Yeah.
We do the eulogy, and all the family is there. And then you're looking at his wife Keokia.
Yeah.
You're looking at the girls.
At the kids.
Auntie Diane is there.
Oh, was she?
So it's like, wow, how do you make sense of all this, right? And then here we're 50. I'm approaching 54. You approaching 55.
I'm 45, homie.
Kevin. He's experiencing pure adulthood.
Right.
As a husband, and now you look back and you say, man, where'd all the time go?
Yeah. It goes fast.
So yeah, Jeannie, I reminisce about the times we spent together, and you're right. Jeannie, Netta, Audra, those were our sisters.
We grew up like sisters and brothers.
It was really no cousin thing.
Yeah.
Of course, we introduced them
as
to other people as cousins.
But we were like brother and sister.
It was like brother and sister. We were all there. And that was impacting to me. So I think also of Lee Horn. The Horn brothers.
Yeah.
Charles, Lee,
Curl,
Lil Brian.
Yeah.
So the Horn brothers were an intricate part of growing up in Inglewood. Fantastic athletes.
Yeah.
Super athletic guys.
Yeah.
So it was almost like that Marcus Allen family.
Yeah.
The Allens were just super talented.
Right.
When you look, at their lineage, the entire family was just, they were just super athletes.
Yeah, I think Lee was 16 when he died, when he got killed.
I believe so. Yeah. I believe he was 10th grade.
Yeah, he was over in the bottoms. He got killed in the bottoms. And it was it a dice game? We were so young back then. We didn't have
Of course, I heard it was a fight.
Yeah, we didn't have the maturity like we do as adults. So we hear things as young kids, but I think about Lee Horn all the time, because I think about,
great athlete.
Yeah, this guy was taken away from us as kids.
Yeah,
and
we were kids.
And when you're a young kid and you grow up with a friend and you lose that friend, you haven't really grown into an adult yet to where you really understand and the impact of what just happened.
Because he was older than Pony. He was class of 82.
Was he?
Was
he 82?
Yeah, he was with Jay Shanklin and those guys.
I thought he was 83.
No, he was 82.
Okay, yeah, the Horns family. Yeah.
He was 82.
Yeah.
I think Charles was class of 80.
Okay.
With another guy we're going to mention in a few moments because Chris Greer. Was in high school with them. They were great athletes.
Yeah.
But
because Crow was my age.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you figure...
Oh, was Crow your age?
Well,
I think Crow was...
He was left behind.
Like a few other people we know.
Right. So he was left behind. He was your grade.
Okay.
And he ended up being...
He in your grade.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you're right. Because look at Lee Horn's football career.
I know.
I mean, he was
I think about
he
that.
was a person of promise.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you keep going, you in the NFL. I mean, he had that kind of potential.
And it's so amazing, man, how you got kids who grow up in the inner city and they're great athletes or they're great scholars or whatever it is that they're great at, but then they got another side to them.
Yeah.
Like Lee.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was a hustler.
He was a hustler.
Scrapper.
He was a scrapper. He was about his business. The whole family was.
Yeah.
But he was a great athlete.
Great athlete. And he was a great person.
He was a good dude.
You know, he was
all the horns.
Yeah, they had this. There was classy guys.
Right.
You know, but to me, they were mature because they were really about their money.
I already know.
You know, Lee and Charles was wearing tailor-made pants.
I know.
And rolling shirts.
Right.
You know, these guys was always well dressed with the Stan Smiths on.
Yeah.
You know
Stacey Adams.
And Stan Smith tennis shoes. I mean, these dudes was clean, right?
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about it, you're like, wow, you know, this guy's life was snuffed out at an early age because he was probably at the right place at the wrong time.
So we said all that. So Lee Horn, what kind of adult do you think he would have been if he had lived?
I think he would have been a model citizen because I knew at that time he carried himself in a way to where he was about money.
Right.
So I knew he had a work ethic. All the Horns did. If you think about it, they were always scrambling to have a few dollars.
And they had a father and a mother.
I know.
Right.
So I think Lee, because even when he was 16, I would say 10th grade.
Okay.
Football really wasn't a priority of his anymore.
Right.
I saw that dynamic change.
Right.
So it wasn't really like he had this passion
for sports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, back then in the 70s, money was lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we were inner city kids, you know, trying to find our way out. They were older, so they like, man, I'll be out of high school in 2 years or 1 year. What am I gonna do? I gotta get some bread.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think Lee probably would have fell through the cracks before he bounced into saying, I'm gonna work honestly and hard for a living, because they had the work ethic.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him now. Charles is working.
Yeah.
He's living his life. I think he lives in the IE.
Okay.
Or you know, back
out
the
that
other
way.
Yeah. Curl, same thing. He's working. You know, finding his way. I ran into him recently.
Humble.
Yeah. They were all humble.
Yeah, humble. Curl
they were
humble.
always
That's
humble.
my man.
So yeah, I think he probably would have had a few bumps and bruises,
but he would have landed on his feet.
I believe he would have.
Okay, that's cool.
I believe he would have.
All right. Okay.
The other guy, like I was, and you mentioned him first. You know, Calvin Greer.
Oh man, young Calvin, man, that was another blow. You know, Calvin was about 16.
He was young.
He was about 16.
I think he was like 11th grade.
Yeah.
You know, he was in high school as well. Yep. I think he was probably 11th grade.
Yeah, maybe 11th grade.
grade.
Yeah, man, and I remember how that impacted me, and I still think about Calvin all the time as well.
Yeah.
And I you know, Calvin was ahead of his time. He was one of all those guys then were just really mature for their age, and he was another guy that was about his money.
Yeah,
he was about getting his money. He was about dressing fresh.
Yeah.
He was already a fresh dude.
He was already a handsome.
You know, he was a fresh dude.
Yeah, he was.
Light skinned. You know, small in stature.
Yeah.
In terms of his size.
Yeah.
But always a mature dude, and always was about his money.
Yeah, respectful guy.
Always
had the world of respect. You know, in Inglewood growing up.
Yeah.
And you know, like his older brother Chris told me, because you know he's a master barber, and I worked with him briefly for a couple of years, and you know he said basically they all started on the east side.
Oh, really?
Where we grew up. His father owned a barbershop off of Central. And I believe it's like 55th or 54th.
Oh, yeah.
And had a prominent barbershop there throughout the 60s and 70s, early 80s. But they were no strangers to hard work.
Right.
And I think that's the whole thing. I think when you look at the foundation that was laid for us back then, we probably didn't learn to appreciate it until we got of a certain age.
Right.
So yeah, Chris Greer was one of those guys that, we looked up to because we knew he was going to be fresh. He was a ladies' man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like that dynamic when people talk about Harlem of New York.
Yeah.
When they would watch the big cars go down a certain street. And Harlem was considered Sugar Hill.
Exactly.
Right? It was a Sugar Hill section.
That's how it was when we was younger.
That's how I saw a lot of these guys that was going through Inglewood, especially the bottoms.
Right.
And the bottoms, it was a real hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah. But Chris was a little different than Calvin in terms of what Calvin was into when he was.
Of course, yeah. Chris was a quarterback.
Right.
He was a football player.
Right.
He played baseball.
Right.
So he was engaged.
Right.
He was connected.
Yeah.
He loved being involved in sports.
Yeah. His focus was on something else.
It was something different.
So me thinking about Calvin, what kind of guy that I think that he would be if he had lived, I don't know. Calvin, I don't. When you grow up like Calvin, in terms of him hustling and how he was, and it was really focused on just that money, it's either gonna turn out two ways for Calvin. Either he gonna snap out of it and be a productive part of society, or it's gonna end up bad for Calvin. Maybe in the penitentiary or somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's only my perspective on Calvin Greer.
Yeah.
In terms of how he probably would have been, and we all have our opinions and what our images of what we think this person would have been. That's only my image. He could have ended up being a priest.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Just because you're one way when you're
Early
a kid,
on,
right? Doesn't mean you're gonna, at some point either you're gonna have to snap out of it, or you're not. But you have to look at it like this: we have a brother who was just like Calvin Greer, but in a little different aspect.
Oh yeah.
And you have to see how his life turned out. And there's other people, when you look at them on one path, and you say, okay, people who we knew in school that was they smoked weed, they end up being crackheads.
Yeah.
Not all of them,
Yeah.
but it just all depends. Either you're gonna snap out of it, or if you continue on that path, this is what is gonna end up happening.
Yeah. And that, I think that's fundamental, because every action has a reaction.
It has a reaction.
What goes up comes down.
Yeah.
So you're right. If you stay in a certain element, then you got to deal with those consequences.
Well, we know people who have, and the people who are listening and viewing or whatever, they know who people who have started off one way and they never got off that path, and they ended up on the same destruction path that they were on when they were young adults.
Right.
And it happens.
Right. And yeah, you're right. I totally agree. I think of Connie Bluford.
Oh man,
she was in your class.
She was young, man. She was
young,
and Connie was
female.
Young man. I think Connie was probably 12 when she died.
7th or 8th grade.
I was definitely at Monroe.
Well, I know I was at Monroe. I think you guys were in the 8th grade.
Man,
I was in 7th grade.
That was so
because
so
I was definitely in middle school.
Yeah, and it's so funny when you hear things like that as a kid, and you come to school the next day, and then someone's telling you that one of your classmates is dead. How do a 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
I remember
it's traumatizing.
I remember when Connie when she died.
And think about this. We didn't have counselors coming in to talk to us.
I already know.
In this day and time, like Columbine and all these other tragic situations that has occurred over the years across the country, they had counselors and doctors to come in and talk to the kids. We didn't have any of that in the 70s.
I know.
We didn't have anybody. We had our parents.
Yeah, I remember being so sad, man, when Connie died. She was a little girl. Yeah. And she didn't really have the best, childhood from what we would hear, like rumors about her childhood. I think she lived right. She lived right outside the Rufus. She lived right outside the Rufus, didn't she?
She lived on 108th, right outside of the gate.
To the right,
come out of
on the corner. Because I think it was a bunch of them in the house.
Well, yeah, because remember, her family ended up going to Ghana, drinking The Jim Jones Jew.
Did they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Several people in her family.
Oh, they followed Jim Jones?
They followed Jim Jones over to Ghana in West Africa.
See, now it all explains it.
And they died.
It explains how her childhood was.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You know, I mean, we were all poor, but Connie was really not, her family wasn't doing well.
And I remember she was a little, I think people...
She was slim, they used to tease her.
That's what it was.
You know, wearing the same clothes or whatever.
Yeah, it was sad, man.
Yeah, because her best friend was Nicole, right?
Yeah.
Nicole, Darren Johnson.
Darren Johnson,
yeah.
Yeah, because they lived on this,
Right.
Wow, Nikki.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. That was devastating.
So going back with Connie, I'll let you, kind of dissect that one. How do you think she would have been if she had lived as an adult woman?
Well, she was already on the fast track.
She was.
She partied a lot at the...
I think she did drugs, too.
She did drugs because that was speculation when she died. Because, she died in her sleep.
Right. See,
so they were saying that, she was complaining of a headache.
A drug overdose or something. That was the rumor.
That was the rumor that that she had an aneurysm.
Yeah.
In her sleep. But to this day, it wasn't...
It's a mystery.
We don't know really
how she died.
But we do know that she did go to sleep. And it was midday. I'll never forget. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'm still blown away over the Jim Jones thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Her family was a part of the Jim Jones.
I didn't know that,
because that guy took hundreds of people over there with him.
No. Thousands
that traveled with him over to Ghana.
Yeah. Thousands that followed Jim Jones, and they all drank the Kool-Aid, whatever it was.
Yeah. So
wow.
So I think Connie would have done one of two things. She would have gotten off of that road of drug, because she smoked weed.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. But I think sometimes when you know better, you do better.
Right.
And
she didn't know better.
And who's to say that as she got older, life wouldn't have changed for her?
Yeah.
Because I think deep down, we all had a foundation to where we could judge right from wrong. Yeah. And she wasn't a malicious person.
No.
So I just think that if she had have left that environment, she would have had a better opportunity to make something positive of her life.
Yeah. Because her sister still around her? Because you remember her younger sister?
I remember several girls.
Yeah, it was a lot of girls. Yeah. But I do remember the one that was right under her. Because I think I seen her as an adult.
Okay.
I can't recall her name, but I do remember her. She had a sister that was right up under her. Then she had some older aunts and sisters. There was a lot of them living in that house.
Yeah. And it's crazy because they went over to Ghana.
Didn't even know that, man. That's.
I'll tell you. I'll throw a name out there that really impacted me, and I still think about him to this day. And it was so crushing. To when I got the news, I hung up on the person
that was giving you news.
Because I felt you going too far, you clowning. I don't feel like clowning.
Right.
Especially
look, that ain't funny.
That's not funny.
Right.
So I hung up on Tony Liggins like twice when he called me.
Okay.
And we were living on Fairview.
Okay.
At that time. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And when we lost Brett McCord,
man, I remember that.
That was so like in your face because Breck and I were really close at Monroe as we were as ninth graders because a lot of people didn't know, but Breck used to do a lot of my academic stuff. Because I was always ditching at Monroe and
Brett was smart.
And so Brett made a pact with me early on because he loved basketball.
Brett McCord.
And he sucked. He just was terrible.
Yeah.
But he was very intelligent.
Yeah.
So our pact was that he would help me with my homework, and I would teach him how to play basketball.
Oh, that's cool.
and let him kind of play with us or whatever. I pick him on the team.
He was your understudy.
Right. Knowing that this dude was never going to get it.
He was your understudy.
He was going to always be a in the backyard player. Right. But anyway, we developed a really close friendship. He, I, Tony Liggins, and it just carried over all the way into high school. So when he passed away on a freak accident, diving into a wave.
Yeah.
And broke his neck
at Dockweiler Beach.
I couldn't believe it.
We were in school. Where we ditching?
He was ditching.
Yeah.
Him and his girlfriend from Carson.
Yeah, that was sad.
They didn't come to school that day. They went to the beach.
That was sad.
And boom, that happened.
That was sad. That was sad.
And it's crazy, man, because I'll never forget. They asked me to be a pallbearer. I did.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I remember that.
And when I went to view his body, man, like the embalming fluid was kind of, sometimes it's
Okay.
And it was like a tear.
Oh man.
In his eye. But he looked so good. He looked like he was literally asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, he was young, and you could tell he didn't have any, they said he didn't have any trauma,
right?
Or he wasn't
under
distress.
Yeah, and then when you're young, I mean, you still look. We were kids.
He looked like he was gonna wake up at any moment.
Oh,
but when I saw that embalming fluid, which was formed like a tear,
yeah, wow, that's memorable, right there.
I never forgot that.
That's memorable.
That really got to me in such a way to where I just never ever. But he looked so peaceful.
Yeah. Yes.
But that was devastating.
Yeah, and it's funny, man, because when I see Brandy, his sister, all the time,
which were very close,
extremely close, and she was extremely smart in school as well.
Yeah.
But every time I see Brandy, I see Brett.
Yeah.
Because they kind of looked alike, and they were really close.
Very close.
And I know how devastated Brandy was back then. I can remember how devastated she was back then. So when I see her now, I always kind of embrace her, and we always talk.
Yeah.
But Brandy's always been super cool, man. But
Definitely.
that was pretty sad.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty sad.
That was a tough moment for me.
That was.
And so I think about him a lot.
Yeah. He would have been president.
He would have definitely been a politician or some type of business exec.
Yeah. Now
he was just that bright.
I think Brett would have turned out to be he would have been on that path of success.
Of course,
I could have easily seen him
very outgoing
as somebody's boss running some company or whatever. Maybe
no doubt.
Yeah, maybe one of these molecular structure companies or whatever. This guy. So I can definitely see him because I think he was like in student council and all that. Wasn't he?
He was. Yeah,
he was definitely on. He was on the road to success.
Yeah. He was an outstanding.
Yeah, he was on the road to success.
Yeah,
but
talent.
Sometimes that can flip.
Yeah.
I
don't think it would have with him. Because his parents, you have to understand, he had older parents, and then he had older siblings. Him and Brandy are the youngest, so they really had an accountability level there.
Yeah.
They
had an older brother too, didn't they?
Remember he got in the game. He was over there. He didn't get in the game. He was in the junk bonds.
No, it wasn't junk bonds.
Was it junk bonds?
It was.
Because he was on the news and everything.
No, it wasn't the news. He was on America's
Most Wanted.
No, not America's Most Wanted. America's scoundrels and whatever. But
he got in trouble.
I remember. I think he was doing. I think it was like counterfeit something or whatever. But,
right.
But I remember him.
Right. They made a lot of money too.
Oh, they was killing the game.
They made a lot of money.
Yeah, it was killing the game.
But even him, he was
still a good guy. He was doing
working.
what he was doing. But
he was working and everything.
Yeah.
And he was smart. So you have to understand, they're recruiting these bright, fresh minds who can, they can benefit from in that type of world and environment. But they were definitely mainstays.
Yeah.
What about Uncle Kenny?
Oh man. I'm gonna tell you something, Hoop. When Uncle Kenny passed, I'm gonna tell you the most memorable thing I remember when he died. First of all, I remember coming home from school, and I think somebody was at the house babysitting because they said Uncle Kenny got killed, and your mother went to go.
Yeah.
I don't know who that was that was
Big?
watching. I don't know
Probably
who it
not.
was.
Was it Ain't Big?
I don't know, and it definitely wasn't one of her close sisters because they would have been there too. But I remember. I think it was.
Ooh.
I think it was Mamie.
Could have been.
I think it could have been Mamie.
Could have been.
But I remember
because I do remember her sitting for us before.
But I remember coming home from school as a little kid, and I was 11 because he got killed in '77, And I remember somebody telling us, your Uncle Kenny got killed and your mother went to go, whatever. So I remember Mom coming home, and I can still remember what she had on. Mom had on a sweatsuit. It was a green jogging suit, and it still had some of Kenny's blood on it. I remember that. Wow. I may be a little off or whatever. Maybe we'll talk to moms about it later, but I remember her having on a jogging suit. I think it was green, and it had Kenny's blood on it. But the part that really affected me, this is stupid, but this is me being a kid. But the part that it really affected me most was at the funeral, or on our way to the funeral. Mom's made me wear these boots with the zipper on the side, and they was Pooney's boots, and they was handed down to me. Man, I did not want to wear them boots. I was crying and I was mad. She said, "You gonna wear these boots?"
Wow.
I said, "Mom, I don't want to wear these boots. You gonna wear them?"
Wow.
So I cried because she made me wear the boots, And then the memory is a little vague and a little because we were so young, and it was 77.
Yeah.
But I remember Netta saying that she had just ironed his shirt or something that morning.
Okay.
And when he went out and left. I remember that about it. Netta saying, yeah, he asked me to iron his shirt or something when he left out that evening or whatever. But it's a trip because you end up ironing someone's clothes or doing whatever, and then they don't even someone else taking the clothes off at the end of the day. You don't know. You wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you lace your shoes up. You don't know who's gonna take off your shoes at the end of the day. Is it gonna be you, or is it gonna be the coroner or the doctor, or whatever?
Yeah.
But I remember that, man.
I think his death, how it affected me was, I remember him out of our uncles, out of Uncle Junior and Uncle Curtis. I remember him being the most playful one, meaning he would horse around with us when he felt like it. It wasn't all the time.
Right.
But when he felt like it, he would horse around with us. Whereas the other two just never did. I don't even remember, Uncle Junior would, put you in a headlock or, do something to hurt you.
Yeah, he was mean.
Se.
Yeah, he was mean. He want to grab you, smother you until you almost die,
right.
and then let you up. Like, dude, what are you doing? We're kids.
Right. But I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when Uncle Kenny came over to Inglewood.
I remember
he had his black leather jacket on, and we were at the table eating. And, he had been talking to Mom and everything, and so he came in the kitchen, he was talking to us. And I remember him kind of kind of hitting me, in my midsection. Okay. And, you a kid, you frail with these little bones. And I remember his knuckles, man, and I was crying because I was like, man, that hurt it, right?
Wow.
And he was kind of I think he kind of was thrown back from it, what you crying for, I ain't trying to hurt you or whatever. But I just kind of remember that look that he had on his face, he kind of I hurt his feelings, because or whatever. But I think that part stuck in my mind. And then at the funeral, when we were going by to actually
view him,
to greet our Big Mama, Big Daddy, and we went down the line,
right.
And Big Daddy reached out and he pulled me and he kissed me.
Did he?
And that was the first time.
No,
he did, and that was the first time. And then I sat by him at the funeral.
By Big Daddy?
Yeah, because he was weeping. He didn't hate you, man. He was weeping.
He hated me, man.
Kind of during, that process.
That
was my first time seeing his vulnerability.
Really? I didn't.
And that, to me, that was so impressionable for me because I saw how he was affected by losing his baby boy.
Yeah, because I remember sitting by Lamont, and I think Lamont was crying. He was pretty torn up about it, but I didn't even, Big Daddy.
And I had never seen him vulnerable like that.
He kissed you?
He pulled me.
Man, he hated me.
And
I
ended up staying there, sitting on his lap.
He told me don't come on his property no more.
Man,
He told me
that was a whole different issue.
I don't want you around on this property no more. I'm a kid. Where am I gonna go, Big Daddy? I don't want you around here. You a cream puff. But wow, that's impressive to me. from that story that you're telling about how you say Big Daddy, that's impressive because Big Daddy was a different. He was a manly man.
You know,
he
was from a different generation.
Hey, listen, man, he raised his kids. This dude was in the household with his kids all the way through. All of his kids.
All of them.
And he was there as a father.
Yeah.
He raised his kids. I mean, he had, what was like 9 of them?
Yeah.
And he was there.
Yeah.
And he put food on the table by himself for 9 kids. See, people don't know that. Big Mama was a housewife.
Yeah, she didn't work.
He went and raised 9 kids by himself, dude. Yeah. People don't really understand that.
As a man should.
Do you know how much it costs? I got a kid at home, and she eat everything that ain't nailed down. Yeah. So you can imagine 9 kids, mouths to feed, and he went and props to Big Daddy, man.
Every time I pick my up, it's shishing. Especially when school was in.
That's what I'm saying.
Whether it's morning or after school, they hungry.
I mean, think about back then. You talking about back in the 50s, man.
Yeah.
As a black man, these dudes are earning $200 a month.
Yeah.
And he owned a home.
Yeah.
He bought a home for his wife and his kids.
Yeah, he did.
And he fed his kids, man. Yeah. So I mean, you got to give big props to Big Daddy for that.
Yeah,
I don't think moms and them even look at it like that. Because they were just kids. But if maybe they'll look at the podcast and say, wow, that's pretty. For them to go back and look and think about what their dad did for them.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude
I think they appreciate him being there.
Yeah.
And being the father,
man,
that they could admire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was hard on them. He was, but he was the father.
Listen.
And he did what a father should do.
Listen, for any women out there that's listening who are probably housewives, or if you know someone who's a housewife and the father's out there working his butt off and he's taking care of his household, give that man some props.
Yeah, give him some respect.
Give that man some respect. Put some respect on that man and put some respect on his name. Put some respect on it.
No, you're
right.
And
give that man some props because
you're right.
When you think about that, dude.
Right.
I mean,
because I think it goes back to one of the discussions we were having. Most black women don't know what the black man has to deal with already.
Through. Yeah.
Just from being a black male, they don't really understand what we have to deal with.
Yeah.
This last person, and then you can end it. This last person was very important in our neighborhood, and we saw his demise. Well, actually, 2 of them. The other guy, we can't really recall his government name. But Danny Johnson.
Oh my God.
Who was a tremendous athlete.
Quick.
He was funny too, though. He was comical.
Wheels, yeah.
You didn't even know, when he was serious and when he wasn't. But he was very comical. But he was a tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
Fast.
Yeah.
Man, this guy was fast.
Yeah.
What do you remember about Danny? Johnson?
What I remember about Danny is I remember Danny being extremely fast, like probably one of the fastest guys in the neighborhood.
He had to be, man.
And I remember Danny being
Didn't he beat Suki?
He beat everybody.
This dude was the fastest guy.
He beat Rat.
He beat Rat.
He
Rat
beat everybody.
Fast too.
He beat Rat.
He beat Rat.
He beat everybody.
He beat everybody.
And I kind of remember Danny being serious and being kind of playful.
He was playful.
Because he was Pooney's friend.
Class 83.
Yeah. And that's what I do remember about Danny. We didn't get a chance to really, really see what kind of either young adult he would have been because he took his own life.
Yeah.
And that was the most tragic thing about that is his little brother had to find him. Chris walked in the garage and found him.
Right.
And to this day, people you hear rumors as a kid, why Danny killed himself, why he didn't, I think it was over a girl or something.
Allegedly, because they found a note.
Yeah, but that
he either received from her or he wrote to her. But nothing on the lines of I'm committing suicide. But it was like a breakup or something.
And the thing about it is he came from
good family.
They wasn't poor.
No.
They wasn't poor.
Pops was balling.
Yeah. Pops had that bread.
Yeah,
and Hester always worked.
Yeah.
And do you remember the house? The house
had all those nice mirrors and everything was custom.
The kitchen was redone.
Yeah.
So they had money.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that to say it doesn't really matter how you grow up. You can grow up poor, you can grow up upper middle class, you can grow up whatever. You don't know the kind of demons that people are battling every day.
Yeah.
And think about it. You a kid.
Yeah. How can you process
Danny
that?
probably was what, 15, 16 when he killed himself?
I think it was about 15.
I
don't even think he was in the 10th grade, man. He could have been in the 10th grade.
I think Danny probably was in the 10th grade.
Yeah, I think it was in 10th grade.
Yeah, because are you right? He could have been a freshman.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, you don't know the kind of demons people are battling, man, as kids. And we see it more now prevalently as adults. Now we look at these teen suicide because there's so much going on with social media and bullying. Back then, it was a little unheard of for kids to take their own lives.
Yeah.
That affected me a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it affected Hester and
Chris.
Chris and the father over the long run.
Oh yeah.
It kind of changed that family from that dynamic. When that happened with Danny, I saw the change in
the family.
Chris. Chris was already super quiet, and he's still quiet now. That's my boy. And Hester's always been the best lady.
Yeah.
So kind.
Oh yeah.
Even the pops was so cool.
Yeah.
I think they're from Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Are they from Texas?
Yeah, they're Texas.
Walter.
Yeah.
And just the best family, man. But I watched the effects of what happened to Danny. I watched it manifest with Chris. I watched it manifest with Walter.
Yeah.
That's a time. And I watched it, Hester kind of went a little bit more introverted.
Okay.
But it affected me a lot. In terms of how Danny would have ended up, man, that one right there, we don't really know because we didn't get a chance to
we didn't really get to see that serious side of him or his pursuit of what he probably wanted to be or thought about being. I never saw that because even as a track runner, I don't even remember him being engaged on a sports team at Morningside.
No.
He was just naturally fast, and then he was super fast. So it's a great subject to discuss because many people probably just kind of let it relay in their minds or lay in the recesses of their minds as a as a silent conversation.
Right.
But I think it's healthy and it's also paying homage.
Right. To the ones that we lost.
Exactly, and so thanks for coming up with that great topic because I think everybody that's listening can relate.
They can relate.
And even if they don't get to talk about it, maybe they should. Maybe they should start talking about.
It's cathartic to kind of get it off and talk to someone about it. It's very cathartic. And I think what we do here with the podcast is pretty cathartic because we're talking about life. Yeah. We're talking about things that not only that we've gone through, but people who are watching, they've gone through some of the same things, or they know people or have family members who've gone through the same things. So,
exactly. So, we want to say thanks for tuning in to this episode of Them Brothers from Inglewood and how, we're able to bring you information that, you can digest and give feedback to. We want to say thanks to the Coalesce Group for your sponsorship and your support, and we're looking forward to bringing much more material through this platform and our social media outlets that we're on. And so, once again, it's been great. As always, I'm gonna let my co-host Charlie Mack close us out.
I just want to say much love to all the families that we were talking about, the McCory family, the Horn family, all the families that we kind of talked about and touched on. Our heart goes out. Those people are in our hearts, and there's still love from us, and we think about them every day. So peace and love, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much.